There was a counsellor that I saw initially just after my diagnosis. We actually had a really lovely family friend who arranged and paid for a few sessions for me with a guy who did a lot of work around grief and difficult kind of personal issues and stress issues and things. And I remember him talking to me, trying to help me to get this in perspective so it didn't completely kind of take over my life. And I remember him asking me, what would be the word that you think when you are wheezy or when you cough up blood or when you can't do something? And I think I remember saying to him something like bugger. And he said, well, could it be an embuggerance? You know, so you're sort of trying to kind of put it in this little box without letting it get too huge. So I mean, that was something I did very early on. But in more recent years, I've got a fantastic counsellor who I see every few weeks, and a lot of that just kind of feels like maintenance stuff for me. I try not to get too annoyed at the stuff that I can't do, but realistically, I mean, apart from kind of getting out of breath going upstairs or walking up hills that nobody else would even notice as a hill, but I do, you know, there's not a lot of times where I've had to say, no, I can't really do that, or that's a bit beyond me. I was aware that so many other women had had really serious health complications, and I hadn't up until then. So that was a really frightening, really awful thing to happen. And obviously it's something I still think about every day now, and I'm aware that it could happen again. It's just something that I really have no control over, which is pretty challenging. Any question around non-accidental injury for any of these kids? I had kind of always thought I'd be a mum. I always thought that I'd have a child, and that's something that I had been giving a lot of thought to and making some decisions around before the lung collapse, and that was something afterwards I just felt I couldn't do anymore, so that was something that was really major in my life. I go along, I get stressed, I get anxious. My mum always comes with me. I think there's been 2 times since 1997 that she hasn't come, I think when she's been overseas. We do get a bit ridiculous about it. We cannot remember the way to the hospital at all. And this is my city, I've lived here since I was 10, and we have a complete mental block about it. Neither of us want to go, we can't bear to go, but we sort of know that we need to go. So there's this whole kind of silly thing that goes on with thinking that we can't quite get there. And I do get stressed and I get grumpy, and I hate being there, but it's just something that needs to be done. I have flown, and it has been with great success, which has been great. I think the thing that was really hard for me to get my head around was the fact that the last time I went to Europe, my lung collapse was 2 weeks after I got back, and I found it really just impossible not to believe that there was a correlation with me having done that long haul flight. That was really tough because I've loved my travel and I've been to some really neat places. I've always enjoyed travelling a lot. So to feel like I couldn't travel and also kind of not to have time out and what's a pretty full-on job as well was really hard. But again, that's something I've talked a lot about with my counsellor, with family and friends. And yeah, it was great to get to the stage where I felt like I could give it a dummy run last year and then have a big trip to Europe this year. Being the first woman to do it felt good, and again that was due to Mum, who as always has pushed for what needs to happen, who has had really good discussions throughout with my specialist, who knows what's going on because of all the work that she's doing internationally and knowing what research is going on overseas. So I was quite happy to take it. Fortunately, I don't have any kind of major side effects from it, or nothing that's not easily managed, so it's good to know that there's something that we can do. It'd be great too one day just to get the pill, which I talk about with Mum, and when she goes away I'll often say, can you just bring me back the pill, as if there was some magic little cure. And hopefully we'll get there one day, but it's great that there's something now. And I know there are some amazing minds, just some fantastic researchers doing some really important work, and so you just kind of have to have faith and hope that they'll continue on the right track, and what we've got now will be improved on at some stage and can hopefully just kind of, yeah, sort this thing.